So when we talk about what winning looks like, there's many different things that winning looks like, but sometimes winning is actually winning, and Andy knows how to do that. So I'm happy to introduce him, and he is going to conclude today's assembly with some remarks on 2026, the future of the party, future of our activism, what winning looks like, and how we get there.
Go Green 2026!
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jared. I really appreciated those words. And I listened to Jared's show quite a bit in Jared's stuff. So that is Black Liberation Media, right? And I encourage everybody to check that out. We've done some good shows there together, and I look forward to doing more of them. And yeah, we did win, and we did win on a charter amendment in Baltimore City in 2024 because we knew we could, and we knew we needed to. And I think that spirit is really why I am excited to be here today. And as, as has been said, my name is Andy Ellis. I'm seeking the nomination for governor in 2026. But today I want to talk about the party, because we are here to celebrate the Maryland Green Party. We are here to celebrate 25 years of being around as a third party in Maryland. And it's just a joy because at the 25th assembly of a party that never sold out, never gave up, and never stopped telling the truth, we are here to celebrate. And I've never been more excited to speak at a Green Party event than I am at this one, because I don't think it's just a milestone. I think it can be a turning point. I think this is the time together where we are not just marking the time, but we are claiming the future that we want to build. Now look, I officially joined the party in 2015, so that means that for 10 years, I've been asked the same question. What about Ralph Nader in the 2000 election? I've tried a lot of strategies to answer this question, but recently my answer is simple. It is that Ralph was right. I have been going through some of his old speeches, and I came across his July 2000 address to the NAACP convention in Baltimore. And he said, only by building new political power, new economic power, new media power, new civic power for all Americans, only by doing that are we going to turn around the headlong rush into systemic and institutionalized injustice that is shortchanging the lives of future generations. There are a lot of things that Ralph Nader said that he was right about, but this point about building independent political power to escape the injustice of the two-party system, that part hits today as much as it has any point in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
So a decade after joining the party, I understand more than ever that the work we are doing here is one of the hardest and most important things to do in American politics, and I am in awe of the work that we all have done together to do this work. Now, here in Maryland, I've been lucky to learn from some great people. So many of whom have been up on stage today, many of whom have been in the audience, but a few who we've lost. Kevin Zeese told us that if we fail and we fail and we fail until we win. Kevin was right. He knew that building an independent political movement wouldn't be easy, but he believed that it was important, and he believed that it was important for us in the long term. He believed in the long fight, and he walked every step with us, and he still walks with us today. Mark McCullough told us that organizing is a form of love, and Mark was right. He believed in working class people. He believed in a Green Party, and he believed in giving everything for the fight for justice, and we are still living off of the gifts that Mark gave us today. We should also celebrate those who are not here, those who are still here. Sorry, Bill Berry, who was here earlier today, Joan Floyd, Glenn Ross, Funky Mueller-Paz, and dozens of others have run inspiring Baltimore City races that showed that one-party rule is not inevitable in one of the places where it is supposed to be most inevitable. Mary Rooker and the Tacoma Park Greens told us that democracy means more than two choices. And they won ranked choice voting, as they said on that panel, at a time when most people didn't even know it existed. Mary was right. Tim Willard told us that staying on the ballot is the most important political act the party can do, and Tim was right.
Yeah.
Margaret Flowers told us that peace and healthcare are non-negotiable, and we will put our bodies on the line for them, and Margaret was right. Finally, let's not forget the people who never made the headlines, the people who collected the petitions, the people who worked the tables, the treasurers, all the other folks who have done the work to build this party, not because it was easy and not because it was benefiting their careers, but because it was the right thing to do. Let's remember them. They told us that democracy takes work, and they were willing to put the work in. This party was not born in a think tank. It was not born in a donor retreat. It was not born in a conversation on MSNBC. It was built by people who know that we need a better world, and they put a lot on the line in order to build it. So thank you. Thank you to all the people who have helped us to build this party, to be at the point that we are, 25 years in, celebrating our first 25 years. Now let's be clear. We are living in a constitutional crisis, and we have been for this entire century. The entire time the Green Party has existed has been because there is a constitutional crisis. It didn't start with Trump. Trump's administration may have intensified the attacks on marginalized communities, immigrants, trans people, educators, students, women, black folks, federal workers, and those relying on Medicare, Medicaid, and a social safety net. But it didn't start with Trump. Trump's administration may have attacked democracy and the rule of law in the name of authoritarianism and power, but that didn't start with Trump. Trump's administration has attacked workers in order to enrich his billionaire friends. That also didn't start with Trump. Let's be real. We were already in a constitutional crisis when both parties gave sweeping approval to the Patriot Act, when both parties decided to trade away our civil liberties for surveillance and fear. That crisis deepened with citizens united when the Supreme Court declared that corporations have more speech and more rights than any of us. That crisis has gone on for every bipartisan vote to expand executive power, to ratchet up deportations, to suppress dissent, to fund war, to subsidize billionaires, and to ignore the will of the people. It has been a constitutional crisis, and that is why we exist. We exist because we have the power to bring it back to people, to put the power back in the hands of people. And again, Trump is not the origin. He's the logical consequence. Now look, we're not safe here in Maryland. Maryland will be on the front lines of Trump's war on democracy. This year and for years to come, we have one of the largest federal workforces in the country. We have immigrants, organizers, artists, researchers, and trans youth who today are facing the attacks of the Trump administration. We are on the front lines, but our so-called defenders at the federal level, those Democrats are nowhere to be found. Because while Trump escalates the crisis, the Democrats will say they oppose fascism, but they didn't oppose it last fall when they were cracking down on students. They haven't opposed it for decades while they were funding ICE. They say they're climate leaders, but they're backing pipelines and fracking. They say they're for peace while funding war, arming genocide, and promising the most lethal military in the world. The Democrats are not going to save us. The Democrats are part of the same problem, and here's the truth. It doesn't stop in Washington. Here in Maryland, it is baked into the State House. The Democratic Party has controlled the Maryland General Assembly in nearly every session since 1866. That is not a typo. 1866, Democrats who were former slave owners took power back in the Maryland General Assembly, and they have had it since then. Now, that's 159 years, and they now hold a veto-proof supermajority in both the House and the Senate that they have gerrymandered in order to be into existence forever. So what have they done with that power? That's a good question. You secured that kind of power, what have you done with it? Well, last month, Wes Moore vetoed bills to study reparations, data centers, and making polluters pay. Now, the reason he said he did that is because he's for action, not for studies. So let's look. Where's the action? Democrats have protected police budgets and passed legislation to incarcerate more and younger people. They deferred progressive taxation until it was too late and drove our state into an economic crisis, which is causing major services to be cut. They've enriched developers in every county while doing nothing about the highest rent and eviction rates in the country. They've protected MAGA sheriffs who want to cooperate with ICE to deport our friends and our neighbors. They have given corporations monopolies on providing energy and water, and they've cut deals with corporations at every opportunity in order to get more campaign donations while they're cutting services for the people. Shame. Shame on the Democrats. Now, this is not democracy. This is disaster management with a high tax base in a state like Maryland. And as that tax base starts to go away, we're going to see the disaster come because they're not going to be able to manage it the same way. So when we say the two-party system is a trap, we are not just talking about gridlock in D.C. We are talking about a bipartisan consensus to preserve profit, power, and political control, no matter the cost to the people. We are not here to soften that consensus as the Green Party. We are here to break it. And so if that system won't change on its own, what do? We build a different kind of future, one that belongs to the people. The Maryland Green Party has been here for 25 years, and we should celebrate that. But let's be honest, those 25 years haven't been very good ones. Ask yourself, does the world look better than it did 25 years ago? Do you think it will get better on the path that we're on? I think most people know the answer to that question, and it's pretty clearly no. Over those 25 years, we have seen endless war, rising inequality, mass incarceration, climate collapse, and deeper political alienation that has existed in a century. And through it all, the Democrats and Republicans have simply traded places in power. They've followed the same playbook, which is to protect the wealthy, silence the people, and expand the power of corporations over our lives. At both the state and the national level, both major parties want to turn the clock back, not to justice, not to democracy, but to the last moment when they were securely in power. That's what they are fighting for. We don't, but we are fighting for something different. We don't want to go back to a time in the past. We want to go forward. We want to imagine a Maryland where power doesn't belong to political parties because it belongs to the people. We want to imagine a Maryland where budgets and legislative agendas are shaped by the needs of communities, not campaign contributors. We want to imagine a Maryland where housing, education, and healthcare are rights, not luxuries that a few can afford. Where reparations are real, not symbolic. Where climate and environmental policy means polluters need to pay, not the communities who they're harming. And where a multi-party system forces elected leaders to be accountable to the people, not the party bosses, the national narratives, and their donors. We don't want a different version of the past. We want a different kind of future. That's why we say vote green. So when I say reparations now, you say vote green. So I'll say reparations now,
Vote green.
Let Gaza live,
Vote green.
break our addiction to fossil fuels,
Vote green.
build a solidarity economy,
Vote green.
and return power to the people.
Vote green.
Because when the people lead, the policy follows. That is the clear lesson that we should take from the last 25 years and through most of American history. When movements organize, the status quo trembles, and when we vote green, we're not just casting a ballot, we're claiming a different kind of future and a better world altogether. Kevin Zeese often reminded us that when you organize people against concentrated power, the impossible starts to become inevitable. That's what this campaign and this party are about. Not a brand, not a candidate, not a place on the ballot, but a theory of change and a movement that understands that to build power in a rigged system, we need to shift the terrain on which we all operate. We have three things right now in our 25th year that the powerful fear. First, we have a ballot line. Thank you very much to all the people who made sure we have that. Because that means that we do not need to beg to be included. That means that we do not need to be begged to be heard, and we do not have to ask permission. We can run our own races on our own ballot line and on our own values. That ballot line is our lever, and every time we run, we pry open space for movements that the Democrats and Republicans want to bury. It's not, and this is not just about my campaign, it's about every candidate that we've seen up here today. It's about Michelle, Moshe, Darnell, Nancy. It's about, did I miss somebody? Michelle, Moshe, Darnell, Nancy, David, Renaud, and anybody else who is going to run on a Green Party ballot line this year. We have an opportunity to run as many people across the state as we can because we have fought for that ballot line. And it's about David and Rebecca who are trying to restart a local chapter in Allegheny County. It's about Brian, Andrew, Dana, Tim, Mary, and Nancy who keep local chapters alive for years. The second thing we have that the powerful fear is a political vision that does not rely on the corporations and neither of the corporate parties will touch. We are not here to split the difference between Wall Street and Washington and the weapons industry. We are not triangulating our way through genocide, climate collapse, or massive wealth transfers. Our vision is clear: peace, justice, ecological wisdom, grassroots democracy, and a politics that works for everyone, not the few. 25 years ago, Ralph Nader, again in Baltimore, said, "A deep democracy facilitates people's best efforts to achieve social justice, a sustainable and bountiful environment, and an end to systemic bigotry and discrimination." That's still the vision we're fighting for today, and we still need the deep democracy to do it. The third thing that we have that the powerful fear is a theory of change. We understand what needs to happen in order to change the systems that we are in. We can use our ballot line to unite the left and force issues onto the table that the two-party system wants us to ignore. We can tap into public financing to free our campaigns from corporate control and prove that small donations matched by the government are the real way to fund democracy. And we demand access to debates not because we crave the spotlight, but because voters deserve to hear our values and our solutions. Doing these things together is not just about us. It's not just about one election cycle. It is about working with and building coalitions so the communities and movements have political power that they do not have right now. That is what we offer. We offer political power to those who are left out and left behind by the corporate two-party system. Kevin Cease again told us that the work matters even when it doesn't win headlines, and when we don't win elections, it still matters because each election builds for the next one. Each campaign builds for the next one, and that we have to pound and pound and pound on the wall until it cracks and the light shines through. And I believe that that is what we are doing. I believe that is what we've been doing for 25 years, and I believe that is what we are doing for the next 25 years. Why? Because we know a better world is possible, and we have to work for it. So look, today is more than just an anniversary. It's a national day of protest against kings, oligarchs, billionaires, and against a political system that has failed people and served the powerful time and time again.
And against one-party rule.
And against one-party rule. And if there's one thing we've learned in the last 25 years, it is this: real transformative change. Grassroots democracy will never come from inside the two-party trap. It will come from rooms like this, from people like you, and from ideas that we've been told are not acceptable, but we know are right. That is where the change will come from. And so you can't end oligarchy by voting for oligarchs. You can't stop authoritarianism by giving them more power. You can't fix a broken system by reinforcing its rules. And that's why we're here, because we understand that a better way to fight oligarchy and authoritarianism is by building a real, independent, grassroots party that fights for the issues that matter to people. We need a healthy, democratic, multi-party system that is not corporate, but that is run by the people, and that is run by the people who need the change right here and right now. No one has to do everything, but if each of us can do something, we can have real power. So I'm asking you to get involved, get in where you fit in. Join us, attend events, vote green, advocate publicly, volunteer, run for office, and together we can build a better Maryland. Now look, when we are done, here today, let's mark this moment together as a day of protest. There's some signs that Brian has about the Green Party. There's some signs I have in the back. There's some banners and things like that. And I think we can take a great picture of all of us holding up our signs, showing our spirit, and showing that we are also here for a national day of protest today, but that this is the way that we choose to protest. By building an alternative power base that can help people to get what they need and to get what the two-party system tells them is impossible. So we'll say this: to the corporate parties, we will say your time is up. To the people of Maryland, we will say your voice is heard. To the future, we say we are coming for it together because we just want the world. Finally, I'll say this: power to the people, solidarity forever, and as always, vote green.
Yeah.